Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, men's basketball falls late against Maryland. We have the latest on where Indiana basketball stands as the NCAA tournament draws closer.
And baseball is back in Bloomington. Hear from head coach Jeff Mercer as the Hoosiers prepare for preseason action. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Luke Brennaman.
And I'm Mary-Kate Sullivan. Is it just me, Luke, or is it getting warmer here in Bloomington?
I sure hope so. And somebody that needs to get hot right now and especially gain some momentum is Indiana men's basketball. They lost a heartbreaker in Assembly Hall to Maryland last Sunday. Our Graham Nash has more.
After losing to Northwestern last Wednesday, Indiana men's basketball was desperate to get back in the Big Ten win column against Maryland. However, it was not meant to be.
You got to make plays down the stretch, and I got to get them to understand that. It's just the little things that we didn't execute coming down the home stretch.
The Hoosiers trailed by as much as 10 in the second half, but a 10-1 run propelled IU back into the contest.
This place and these fans reward tough plays and hard plays, and they notice, when we're out there playing as hard as we can, they reward us with energy, and it becomes contagious. So it's what makes this game so special.
Indiana had a 5-point lead with 3 minutes to play, but a Rodney Rice triple in the final seconds proved to be the difference maker.
Well, they went to zone, and then when we went underneath out of bounds, we had a play for Miles to come off, and he didn't. He never came off, so we just didn't execute. Miles, he stayed there in the corner, and we didn't get much out of it.
Miles Rice and Mackenzie Mbako led the way for the Hoosiers with 16 apiece, complemented by the return of a healthy Malik Renew to the starting lineup.
Getting Malik back was a plus. He missed 6 games, guys, and he's lost a lot of his conditioning. And I thought Malik came on at the end and showed some fight.
Next, Indiana travels to Mackey Arena Friday to battle its in-state rivals, the Purdue Boilermakers.
Each and every day that we come in to work, I think we have a positive mindset of we need to get better and we want to get better. I feel like we did all of that today. We just didn't get the win that we wanted.
Reporting from Assembly Hall, I'm Graham Nash, IUSTV Sports.
The Hoosiers are now 14-7 overall and 5-5 in the Big Ten. At the midway point of conference play, Indiana is in 9th place.
In the Indiana women's trip out west, the Hoosiers snapped a 3-game losing skid against the University of Washington, 73-70. Indiana forward Yarden Garzone led the way with a career high, scoring 35 points while shooting an incredible 8 for 10 from 3. In addition, senior guard Sydney Parrish did the rest of the heavy lifting, scoring 16 of her own with 4 made triples to get Indiana back on track.
Hit timely, big-time shots, both Yarden and Sid, so I was happy for those guys. I'm happy for the entire team, though, because this has been a long road trip for us. Super disappointed we couldn't pull it off, at Oregon. We just didn't play well enough, and so we felt like we needed this one tonight to get back on track.
Now, Indiana improves to 13-7 and looks ahead for a home matchup against Nebraska this Sunday at noon.
This weekend, water polo hosted and swept the Indiana Classic for a perfect start to their 2025 season. Our Mike Bedrov has the recap.
IU women's water polo started their season with a 4-0 splash this weekend during the Indiana Classic tournament. Starting with California State University on Saturday, the Hoosiers took the Matadors to the ring with a 19-10 victory. Seniors Grace Hathaway, Skylar Kidd, and Sophia Soli all garnered a hat trick for IU, with Kidd matching her career high of 5 goals in a game. The Hoosiers found another triple hat trick game, dominating the Salem Tigers 20-6, with Skylar Kidd leading the charge with back-to-back 5-goal games.
Ending with a perfect record on the first day, the Hoosiers came back on Sunday to finish it out 4-0 for the start of their season.
On Sunday morning, the Hoosiers are met with their fiercest matchup against UC Santa Barbara. IU goalie Jasmine Higgs gave her best performance for the Hoosiers with a career-high 20 saves to give the Hoosiers an early lead. But it was the fourth quarter where the Gauchos had pulled a massive 4-point comeback to close the gap 9-9. And with 10 seconds left, junior Nicole Tyner shot the game-winning goal to give the Hoosiers the win. Coming out to their final game, the Hoosiers showed no sign of fatigue with a well-earned victory against the McKendree Wildcats, coming out with a 6-0 lead before the end of the first quarter. Funneling in an eager bench with a stellar defense gave the Hoosiers their fourth and final victory for the weekend.
About it. We talked about starting strong and taking a lot of pride of playing at home. We travel out west a lot, which is new for a lot of the other teams in our here at IU, but it's something that's not new to us. So we take a lot of pride in playing at home, and I'm really proud of how we started.
They will move on to the Bruno Invite and play Marist on January 31st for their next matchup. I'm Mike Badrov for IUSTV Sports.
This weekend, the Hoosiers head to the East Coast for the Bruno Classic.
Last Sunday, number 21 Indiana wrestling took on 18th ranked Michigan in Ann Arbor. The Hoosiers were defeated by the Wolverines 22-13. Indiana got off to a quick 10-0 start after Jacob Moran won by tech fall. That was followed by Angelo Rini also winning by tech fall. The biggest win for the Hoosiers came at 184 pounds. Sam Goyne made his first Big Ten dual appearance and upset Jaden Bullock 12-6. However, the Wolverines took the final two matches at 197 pounds and heavyweight to run away with the dual meet. Next up for the Hoosiers, they welcome the Northwestern Wildcats on Saturday, February 1st.
Coming up after the break, we crown our Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And women's tennis sweeps at home. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Now joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is our very own Preston Andrews. Preston?
Thanks, guys. It was no secret coming into the year that Indiana women's basketball would need to find some significant scoring to stay afloat in the Big Ten. Monday night, Yarden Garzone answered that bell in a big way, earning this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week. The Hoosier junior blitzed Washington as soon as the Hoosiers got off the bus in Seattle. Garzone set a career high with 35 points on 8 made threes, another career best, and 13 total field goals. It was a monumental night for Garzone as she scored her 1,000th point of her career, all of which have come in an Indiana uniform. She is just the 33rd player in program history to do so. Garzone's performance was needed as the Hoosier forward was the catalyst for Indiana snapping its 3-game losing streak in the conference, with a visit from Nebraska scheduled for Sunday. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight. Back to you guys at the desk.
Baseball season is just a little over 2 weeks away, and Indiana baseball has high expectations. Coming in at number 25 in preseason rankings, the Hoosiers will play behind top MLB prospect Devin Taylor. The Cincinnati native hit .350 last season and is hoping to build off of his monster year. Indiana has made back-to-back regionals the past 2 campaigns, and with new additions to the pitching staff and a top 10 freshman recruiting class, the Hoosiers' goals are only growing.
I think it's going to be a great season. We returned a lot of the position players and we brought in a lot of new pitchers, but new's great because these guys are new. They just want to come here and win. They've seen what we've done here the last 2 years, gone to regionals, and our goal this year is to host a regional, go to a super regional, and I think the new addition from the pitching staff is going to help us with that.
Indiana will begin the 2025 regular season on February 14th. They head out west for the Sanderson Ford College Baseball Classic in Arizona.
Indiana track and field wrapped up the Crossroads of America Invitational last weekend with several strong performances. Associate head coach Eric Hines praised the team's performance, highlighting Veronica Hargrave's win in the women's 800 meters and a strong showing from the women's 4x400 relay. After a solid performance over the weekend, the Hoosiers hope to build off their momentum when they head to Indianapolis for the Midwest Classic on Friday.
On Sunday, Indiana's women's tennis team hosted the Butler Bulldogs and the Southern Indiana Screaming Eagles in their first doubleheader of the season. Our Gigi Welp has the recap on the weekend.
IU women's tennis kicked off their first doubleheader this weekend with a win against the USI Screaming Eagles and the Butler Bulldogs. And Coach Moore gave insights onto how her team can improve, along with talking about how proud she is of their performance this weekend.
I'm really happy of how we pulled it out and that we were able to mentally lock in at the end and get the job done. And then, fix the things that we needed to going into Southern Indiana.
When asked about her strategies in this match, Laura said that she was aggressive, trying to get to the point before the other team did. She also said that she was proud of how she did today, but that she wished she would have been a little bit stronger against these weaker teams.
I know I'm a stronger player than both of the schools that we played, so basically just taking control and trusting myself and being confident.
Senior Laura Schneider is one of only 2 upperclassmen on the team. As a result, she has become a strong leader and a good example to this younger team. Laura's leadership and tenacity on the court will be missed next season.
I'm actually really excited. So this is my last season. I'm really excited to go to Virginia Tech. It's our first road match. I think we're in a really good spot as a team, and I'm just really excited to see what we can do.
The 3-0 women's tennis team will head to Virginia Tech this Sunday to compete with the Hokie Birds.
Indiana Swim and Dive took down rival Purdue at their dual meet in West Lafayette last weekend. IU took second place for both platform events, then came out hot Saturday morning, winning the men's 200 relay and placing 1 through 4 in the best breaststroke. Carson Tyler took first place for the 1-meter dive, and Maya Dewitt took first for the 50 and 100 free. With the final scores added up, the men's team won with a score of 236 to 64, and the women won 189 to 111. Next up, the Hoosiers head to Louisville to take on the Cardinals this Friday.
Now joining us with this week's Candy Stripe calendar report is Grace Lesher. Grace?
Thanks, guys. It's a big weekend for the Hoosiers, so let's take a look at what's ahead. The track team will be competing at 2 meets this weekend, one in Indianapolis and one in South Bend that will both kick off on Friday. Women's water polo will travel to Providence, Rhode Island for the Bruno Invite, and men's and women's swimming will compete against Louisville and Louisville, Kentucky. Also on Friday, men's basketball will travel up to West Lafayette to take on number 10 Purdue Boilermakers in Mackey Arena. On Saturday, women's tennis will travel to Virginia for a match against Virginia Tech, and men's tennis will stay here in Bloomington to compete against Dartmouth, Brown, and Toledo. Also in Bloomington, wrestling will compete against Northwestern and Wilkinson Hall. On Sunday, women's golf will enjoy some warmer weather as they play in the UCF Challenge in Orlando, Florida. To round out the weekend, women's basketball will take on conference opponent Nebraska in Assembly Hall. That's all for this week's Candy Stripe calendar. Back to you at the desk. Thanks, Grace. And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in Indiana athletics. For our fantastic production crew behind us, I'm Luke Brennaman.
And I'm Mary Kate Sullivan. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching IUSTV Sports. Be sure to subscribe at IUSTV and follow us on Instagram and X at IUSTV Sports.